Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. It looks like we have quite a few people coming in. Okay, I want to hear a couple of things from this group. Number one, shout out to where you're calling from. You know, I always ask, I want to know who is on this call. So where are you calling from? Put in the chat box, put in the questions. And the next thing I want to know is what kind of coffee are you drinking this morning? Because it is coffee is for closers. If it's tea, that counts too. But are we like a latte group, a peppermint mocha group? What are we looking at? Give us some shout outs in the chat box. Double espresso, that sounds great. Ian, good to see you. Saw you last week from Pittsburgh. Lubbock, Texas. Great. All right, we'll get started in about 2 minutes. We have some people joining in still, so I want to give it a couple more minutes. We'll start about 8:03. If I just reminded you that you don't have a cup of coffee in your hand, right now is a great time to go get one. Columbia, Missouri. Sacramento, California. Nice. Greater Toronto. We're pretty close to Sacramento right now. We're in Milpitas. Protein smoothie, Steve. That's okay. Steve's healthier than all of us. He says, sorry to bust your theme. That's okay. Whatever gives you energy in the morning. Okay, guys, so if you just joined, we want to hear where you're calling in from, what kind of coffee you're drinking this morning. We have not heard any Starbucks peppermint mochas yet. I'm just drinking straight black here from the office. But I've had plenty. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Black coffee, no sugar, no cream. That's someone after my own heart for sure. All right. Pickle juice, I do not believe that. Andrew, we should call this pickle juices for closers from now on. Okay, team, great to have you here. I am Michelle Spina. I'm the sales education manager here at SolarEdge. If you know these series, this is Coffee is for Closers. We talk about the energy bank. We talk about batteries, how they work with our system. We got some really great questions into the registration form this time. And so luckily, this entire presentation is going to be based around the questions that you submitted to us. So I'm pretty amped about that because I love that two-way lines of communication. It's why we have the Sales Elite program for you. So one question we got last time was that you wanted to see a real installation. You said, hey, all you give us are these marketing pictures. That doesn't look like a real installation. And so we wanted to give you a real installation, and there's one right behind me. So this is the SolarEdge Energy Bank. Let's go down the line. I'm sure this team knows the rest of it, right? This is the Energy Hub. So this is our flexible energy ecosystem inverter that you can connect multiple smart energy devices to. This side, this is our little BUI. So this is actually the thing that disconnects to the grid. Sorry, I have Chris here telling me which camera to look at. And then we have that sub panel and that main panel. So a lot of you asked, you know, how is this wired? So if you look down here, this is a gutter. A lot of times this is what our installations have for a clean, seamless installation. So we put the wiring within that gutter. This is what you'll see actually at the homes. So I wanted to actually introduce Chris here too. He is my partner in crime on the back end, but he is also the voice of the technical training. So if you've heard that sultry installer certification training, you know Chris's voice very well. And he will be here helping me today. So you may hear me say, hey, Chris, what do you think? Here's a question for you. And he's going to be the one to give away the raffle at the end of this presentation. So make sure that you're here because we are giving some stuff away. All right, so let's get started. Couple of things. Let's first start with probably the question that came up the most. What are the primary advantages of the SolarEdge Energy Bank? So want to make sure this team knows the Energy Bank is what we call our SolarEdge battery, okay? So Energy Bank first starts with manufacturing, the manufacturing process. We're really proud of that manufacturing process. So we acquired a company named Kokum a couple of years ago, and they were already a top 5 global battery leader in the market. So you may have heard of them, you may know them because they actually had a battery within this solar powered airplane that went around the world. So that they're very famous for that. But they also have a lot of batteries in electric vehicles, large uninterrupted power sources, and they are the company that we are building a 2 gigawatt hour manufacturing plant with in order to ensure that we have enough residential batteries for this team. So that's one thing that really sets us apart. We're owning that manufacturing process. We acquired a company that already specializes in it. All right, so another thing that really sets us apart. This team knows you can add up to 3 batteries per inverter with the SolarEdge Energy Bank. So on this backup interface behind me, you can put 3 energy hubs, and then on each energy hub, you can put 3 energy banks. Okay, so if that homeowner wants 9 battery systems, they absolutely can do it. Okay, so another thing that sets this apart is it's an entire ecosystem of products. So Energy Bank is one piece of the whole overall ecosystem puzzle. You have our smart EV charger, which I know a lot of this team is selling already. And then you're going to see these smart energy devices come out in the future that's really going to help us with that whole home backup solution. All right, so let's look at some stats here. As you see, we have him right behind us, the Energy Bank. He has a 9.7 kilowatt hour usable capacity. Okay, so a lot of you have heard this is a 10 kilowatt hour battery. It's 9.7 usable capacity. We need to reserve a little bit for a maintenance charge, but it's 100% depth of discharge on that 9.7 kilowatt hours. We have great efficiency on this product, and we will talk about that a little bit because there's a big advantage in terms of efficiency with a DC coupled solution as opposed to AC. So one other thing that sets us apart too is the warranty. So I know this team has probably heard 10-year, 70% retention warranty, right? That's pretty industry standard. Something that's unique about this battery is it has unlimited cycles. So if you look at the spec sheets of the battery systems, a lot of times it'll say a limit to the cycle that homeowner can actually charge and discharge. What's great about this is that homeowner doesn't have to worry about it. So in time of use markets especially, this is great because that homeowner needs to discharge that battery every night to really take advantage of those time of use rates. So again, you can add up to 3 batteries per inverter, up to 3 inverters per backup interface. This can be wall or floor mounted. So what you're seeing behind me is that floor mounting option. So that's the rack that actually sits on the floor, and you can stack the batteries one behind the other. So if you think about multiple battery solutions on the ground, there would be a battery right behind this guy. Okay. This is rated for indoor or outdoor placement. Some of you guys have asked us, where this is commonly put in the home. We're still seeing that garages are probably the most popular place to put these batteries, just like any other battery. So one of the primary things that sets this DC coupled solution apart as well is our ability to avoid main panel upgrades. So I have you guys over here in my chat. How many of you have had challenges with main panel upgrades recently, especially in backup battery systems? Usually when you have a battery solution, especially if it's AC coupled, you're going to need a main panel upgrade because it takes up that space in the main service panel every time you add a battery. What's great about this backup interface is it allows us to stream all of these smart energy devices through the inverter and through the backup interface, taking up minimal main service panel space. So that they're all working together as opposed to taking up separate breaker space. All right, it looks like a lot of people are coming in. Make sure that if you have questions, you put them in that chat box because we want to answer these questions along the way as well. All right, so we had another question come up that was very common, which is what are the advantages of a DC coupled solution? So if this team's thinking, I don't even know what a DC coupled solution is. Okay, so if you think about some of the other batteries on the market, Tesla, Powerwall, the Enphase InCharge. These are AC coupled solutions. Okay, so SolarEdge, LG, which are both compatible with the Energy Hub, are DC coupled solutions. One of the primary differences here is higher efficiency. Now, I think this team knows that we at SolarEdge are known for higher efficiency even with a basic PV system, right? Everyone knows our cups versus buckets analogy, microinverters versus optimizers. Well, with a battery solution, this is even more increasing the efficiency of the system. Reason being are these two different visuals. So if you look on the left, this is a DC coupled solution. PV, battery, they're working together and feeding into that inverter, okay? So there's one conversion of energy for that whole system before we can use that energy in the home. If we're looking at an AC coupled solution, the PV, the battery, they work independently. So we actually have 3 different conversions of energy before we can use that in the house. And when I talk to homeowners, I like to think of it and tell them, use the analogy of the jeans in the washing machine, right? So when we put our jeans in the washing machine, every time we're diluting that color, right? Same thing here. Every time you're converting that energy gets diluted a little bit, piece by piece. So 1 conversion of energy with a SolarEdge DC coupled solution versus 3 conversions of energy with an AC coupled solution results in a higher efficiency of about 6%. So I don't know about you, but with homeowners, they want to have the most efficient system, especially with a battery solution, right? Because they're paying a premium for a storage solution. So they want to have the most efficient option. All right, so let's take a look at another advantage of this DC coupled solution. So another advantage is that you can actually oversize the inverter to 200% if that house is applicable for it. If there's multiple roof planes, especially, it's a great opportunity. So you can actually oversize the system to 200% with an Energy Hub and an Energy Bank battery, because that excess energy that's normally clipped is thrown into the battery. So we can actually use that excess energy in the battery at that point. So what does that mean? Oversizing to 200%. If we have a 7.6 kW inverter, what would that mean we could put on that inverter if we're oversizing it to 200%? You know, I always ask people to have their calculators out. So somebody tell me, if we have a 7.6 kW inverter, we're oversizing that to 200%. What size system can we put on that inverter? I know it's early. You guys told me you had your coffee this morning. Okay, I'm seeing it come in. Okay, over 15 kW. That is right. So if we have a 7.6 inverter, we're deciding to oversize to 200%. That means we can have over a 15 kW system on that inverter, and we can take advantage of that clipping by that energy being thrown back into the battery. Okay, pretty cool. Yeah, Derek, Steve, thank you very much for those. All right, next question. And we have some questions coming in here too, so I'm really glad that, that we can keep this rolling. Quick question, is this training recorded? Absolutely, Sunny. In order to win the raffle at the end of this, you gotta be on live. So I wanna make sure that you stick around with us. How to size the battery accurately. This is the golden question with a battery, right? This is the most challenging part of a backup solution with solar, because homeowners always want to have a guarantee, right? So one thing I want to show, and I think Chris has it up on the screen here, is the SolarEdge estimator tool. And we're going to put that in the chat box too, a link to this in the chat box as well. But as you see here on the screen, you can click and unclick different appliances, and it will give you an estimate of what that battery sizing will be. So this is going to help us, right? Because we've been looking for a sizing tool to help us interact with that homeowner. This is right on solaredge.com. So you can actually even send this link out to your homeowners so that they can mess around with it after the consultation or prior to the consultation. Okay, so this will give us a bit of an idea. All right, but let's get back to how we explain this simply to homeowners as well. So I usually like to set it up by using the cell phone analogy. So as I'm sure this team has been fully immersed in, is homeowners' misconception about batteries, right? When you walk in is, hey, I want a solar battery. This means I'm going to be able to back up my whole home. It can't be more than a couple $1,000s, right? And it's a pretty small battery, right? It's the size of a car battery, right? So we go in as sales professionals and we have to tell them, no, it's only going to power a portion of your house. It's a pretty big battery, right? So we have this guy, and it's a little bit more than a couple $1,000s, right? So we have to set those expectations properly. And I like to use the cell phone analogy first to kind of let them know how that battery interacts with the house. So generally, all batteries function the same. So think about your cell phone battery. If you're using your phone to only make calls and texts, what happens to the battery life versus if you're using it to stream a video? How does that affect battery life? Well, homeowners usually get to the point of, if I'm streaming a video, it's going to drain that battery faster. Okay, so this is kind of how we position it to talk about large loads versus small loads, right? Because if we're talking about a large load with a battery system, it's going to drain that battery faster, right? If we're doing multiple small loads, we can maybe have more small loads on one battery and it would power our house for longer durations. So let's ask this team, what is a large load versus a small load? Give me some examples of what a large load would be. I'm just looking at the questions here and I think we got some. Yeah, I think probably the most common one, air conditioner, right? So the AC, EV charger, Andrew, that's a good one. Well pump, Ian, yes. So these are large loads in the home. But I want to challenge this group. Instead of going straight in and telling the homeowner, look, some disclaimers, right? You're not going to be able to power your AC. You're not going to be able to power your well pump. Let's actually ask questions with this homeowner and not assume that this is going to only be a one battery sale. If this homeowner tells us, look, we need to have these heavier loads, then we're just going to change our messaging into, great, you let me know, Mr. Homeowner, that you needed that air conditioner. You're going to need a 3 battery system. Here's my recommendation to you, and that's what you present at the proposal. So I would challenge this team, instead of giving the disclaimers at the front end to say, no, let me set your expectations straight. Let's ask some questions first and have that homeowner tell us what they need. So the questions I like to ask is, think about the last time you were in a blackout. How long did that last? Right? What was the longest blackout you've ever experienced? What was most uncomfortable about that blackout? Now, not only are you figuring out a lot of information with this conversation, but you're also keying into the emotions, right? Because we know that battery sale is a pretty emotional sale at this point. What are the things you could not live without in a blackout? Realistically, Mr. Homeowner, what are the things you couldn't live without? What are the top 5 things you would want to make sure you have powered during a blackout? Now, if they're saying these little guys, if they're saying lights, I want to be able to charge my cell phone, I want to have the internet, I need to open my garage door, right? Then you can say, okay, well, what are 3 to 4 more things that we can put on that? Okay, so we will be able to really get to that point with the homeowner when we ask those questions. And let's not assume, hey, this guy doesn't know how a battery works. We need to tell him that we can't power these other things. So let's talk about kind of what we can power. So with a 1 battery system, and I like to use this example because the 7.6 Energy Hub is my favorite inverter because that is my favorite size. That is a sweet spot. So let's talk about that 7.6. 1 backup interface, 1 battery. You can easily power about 8 to 10 smaller loads for a general, 10 to 12 hours of battery backup for that home. Now, when we're talking about 2 batteries, that well pump, portable AC, portable heater, I usually like to ask the homeowner, okay, Mr. Homeowner, you said you need an air conditioner, right? But do you have a portable air conditioner for emergency situations? And really set those expectations to say, can we get a little bit more realistic with the air conditioner situation? Most of them will have portable air conditioners or heaters for emergency situations, right? So when we're talking about backup beware, right? I like to say backup beware, central HVAC, EV charger, you guys have said it in this. Electric furnace, so heavy, right? So we need to set the expectation that those things, you're gonna need 3 to 4 batteries. So let's be realistic with that homeowner on, hey, this is what we can power. My recommendation is 2 to 3 battery systems based on what you need for your home. Okay, so just as a last reminder here before we go on to the next question, that estimator tool that Chris showed, that is on SolarEdge.com under the homeowners dropdown. So your homeowners can actually use this whenever they need to. All right? So I'm just checking the questions here to make sure we're answering it. Luckily, it does look like we are answering most of these questions along the way, but we will make sure we answer all of them. Okay, next question. Can the homeowner have backup during a blackout without a battery? Okay, so I'm sure that this team has heard this recently, right? There is a product out there that talks about a microgrid solution. Okay, so a microgrid. If nobody has heard of this, this would mean that in a blackout scenario during peak light times of the day, you would actually be able to have backup power without a battery solution. And we have a very strong statement on this. So SolarEdge systems feasibly can do this, but we do not turn it on for our customers. There's a couple of reasons why. You can think of it as solar storage, a battery system, is the most reliable and really the only reliable backup solution at this point if you have a blackout scenario, especially in emergency situations. Like I saw a lot of people in Texas here on this call, Louisiana, these things where we had extended blackouts, even in the last 8 to 10 months, a microgrid solution is not going to be a feasible solution for a long-term blackout. So if you need a reliable backup solution, you have to go with solar plus storage, and we have to set that expectation with the homeowner. Some of the challenges of a microgrid is it relies on ideal weather conditions. So this would mean that we are actually pulling energy directly from the sun, and we have to rely with strong sunlight on ideal weather conditions for that home. Now, how many times do we actually have ideal weather conditions during a blackout, right? Most of the time with extended blackouts, it means we're in a storm or we're in a fire if you're here in California. And so ideal weather conditions is not usually feasible. So this is providing limited support during daytime duration only. Okay, so as soon as that sun is not hitting those panels in the perfect spot, your power will go out. Okay, so let's think about nighttime, right? So when that sun starts going down, let's say 4 p.m., our refrigerator turns off, right? Overnight, there's that outage, we lose that food anyways. Okay, so when we talk about a backup solution, we need to talk about solar plus storage if that homeowner is talking about long durations of blackouts. So that technology with the microgrid is a pretty cool option, but it's not sustainable if we're talking about backup solutions. Okay? All right, my favorite part. How do homeowners interact and manage their battery system? So if you have not yet downloaded My SolarEdge is the homeowner-facing app that is actually going to allow your homeowners to manage their entire energy ecosystem. So here's an action item for this group today. If you have not downloaded My SolarEdge yourself, please do so today, because there's actually demo sites on My SolarEdge that allows you to show your homeowner at time of consultation what their solar system is actually going to do with interacting with batteries, with EV chargers, etc. So what we've seen, which has actually been really successful, is if you're in consultation with a homeowner, you tell that homeowner, my company actually has a really great management system for your solar. It's called My SolarEdge. Why don't you go ahead and download that app today, Mr. Homeowner? Even if you're not going solar quite yet, I would love you to take a look at the demo sites on My SolarEdge and watch them tonight as they interact with charging and discharging the battery, etc. I'd love for you to see that interactivity. So what we're finding is homeowners will actually download this app, will watch that interaction, and call consultants the next day to say, hey, I actually think a battery solution is a great idea. I want to go with a battery solution. So have that homeowner sell themselves, right, on the battery. That second screen right there is the consumption and production monitoring. Okay, so this is important for homeowners as well. I failed to mention in the beginning, I think this team knows that one of the advantages of the Energy Hub is that there is a built-in consumption meter. Okay, so that homeowner will be able to see how much energy they're using in their house and how much solar production is happening in their house. So how many times have you guys on the call had the homeowner ask you after they go solar, hey, I have a utility bill. I thought I wasn't going to have a utility bill. You told me, sales rep, that I wasn't going to have a utility bill anymore after I went solar. I thought you were offsetting my bill to 100%. My system must be broken, right? So a lot of them think my system's not working right. With consumption and production monitoring, this allows them to see those habits. Mr. Homeowner, look, you actually are producing this much during the day. This is how much your home is consuming. It looks like you're consuming more than you did last year. So it shows them that visibility and allows them to really manage their conservation of energy in their home as it reacts to solar production. Okay, so has everybody downloaded My SolarEdge? I'm looking on the chat box. Does everybody have My SolarEdge downloaded on your phone at this point? Thank you. Yes, yes, yes. We're getting a bunch of yeses. It's great. Definitely use it in the home. I would love to hear from you about how that works. We're seeing a lot of success with being able to interact with homeowners with it. Couple of really cool features on My SolarEdge as it relates to batteries. So one of the things is we actually have a pop-up that will come up that tells that homeowner that they're in backup mode. Why is this important? Well, a lot of times when homeowners have a battery solution, because they're the ones with energy in their neighborhood, with power in their house, they don't realize that the entire neighborhood is out of power. Okay, so we needed to put that pop-up within My SolarEdge to notify them, you're in backup mode. And this is how much time you have left on the battery, given your usage currently. Okay, so this will allow them to track and conserve. Obviously on their dashboard, it'll actually also show discharging of that battery as that power outage goes. So they're able to manage that and conserve their energy as needed. Just last week, WeatherGuard, or 2 weeks ago maybe, WeatherGuard launched. So this is the function that allows us to take all of the weather satellites in the area, collect that data, and predict storms coming to the region. This allows us to automatically charge the battery before that storm hits, so that homeowner will have enough power to sustain them through that blackout. So this is a feature that can be toggled on and off. So if that homeowner doesn't want WeatherGuard for some reason, they can turn it off. Homeowners can also manage their backup reserve levels right from the app. And as we mentioned previously, if they have that EV charger, they'll be able to manage and schedule their EV charging as well. So it is a fully immersive, interactive situation for your homeowner. And it'll allow you to go back to that homeowner, sell additional items later as they become more educated with their energy ecosystem. All right, let's look at some questions because I think we're nearing the end of the presentation, so I want to make sure we answer them. Chris, did you see any ones on here that you wanted to make sure we answered publicly?
Let me take a look. A big important one that we didn't really spend a lot of time answering was, if I have a standalone inverter, can I still upsize it to, on the DC side, 200%? That is a fantastic question. Yes, you can technically do that, though unless you're adding a battery at a later date, you may be wasting a lot of panels on the roof. The inverter will only ever produce at its nameplate rate. That means if you throw 15,000 watts on a 7,600 watt inverter, it's only ever going to produce 7,600 watts max. Now, you will get additional production in the early morning and in the afternoon, so that does offset it a little bit. So a certain amount of clipping is not necessarily a bad thing because it's offset by longer production days. But to really maximize all that extra energy, you want to make sure that you've got some type of battery storage going.
Very good point. I'm glad that we covered that. I saw that question in here too. Thank you for that question, Tanner. All right, anything else on here, Chris, that we wanted to cover? Thank you for answering them along the way. How about, what are the two antennas? Why are there two antennas on Energy Hub? Chris, you want to answer that one since you're the technical guru?
I'm just turning up my microphone so people can hear me. Hopefully this is a little bit better. So the two antennas on the Energy Hub inverter, we have one for our cellular plug-in, which is communications for the inverter for monitoring. And then the other antenna is for SolarEdge Energy Net. Energy Net is a sub-gigahertz wireless protocol that allows the inverter to talk to one or many of our Energy Bank inverters. The Energy Bank inverters are factory installed with Energy Net.
Great. Okay, let's see. Rick, good comment here. So I tried to download the SolarEdge app, but it's asking for a serial number. So there are two apps that you're going to see on your app store. One is called My SolarEdge, and what's the other one called? SolarEdge Monitoring. Set app. Okay, so make sure that you're downloading My SolarEdge. That's the homeowner facing side of things. And I wanted to make sure that I mentioned those demo sites that are on there, you don't need a login for. They're right on the front page. It says demo site right at the bottom right-hand corner. You'll be able to use those even without any type of login with your homeowners. So My SolarEdge, make sure that you're downloading that one. Okay, I think that we've gotten most of these questions answered here. Let me just do one more quick scrub. And if you have any other questions, please put them in. Okay, I think we're good. All right, so let's talk about what's next for SolarEdge Sales Elite. I have a couple of really exciting things to share with this group. So really want this team back here January 11th, right? Because we're doing a series of the Coffee is for Closers. We're going to answer some more Energy Bank questions at that point. We had so many great questions this time through that registration page that we were able to fill up the entire session with those questions. So I want to answer those questions more often. So please put them in to the registration when you register for the Coffee is for Closers session. The next event that I am so excited about is going to have exclusive guests, some friends of the industry that are going to take us through their products and how they differentiate in the home with their product, how they help sales leaders to actually sell better, close more often. So one, David Wilson, does anybody know him from Solo Design Software? Who uses Solo on this call? I think a lot of reps are using Solo. Yep, okay, we have a couple coming in. Brian Gilia, longtime friend, very professional guy that is now at REC Panels. So who uses REC modules on the roof? I think that a lot of us in our proposal tool, okay, it looks like a lot of people use REC modules. So we are going to have those two leaders in the solar industry with us on January 25th to do an event to talk about their products, how they help sales reps close faster, and how they can better integrate with that homeowner solution, specifically with SolarEdge. Okay, so we want you to be there. Okay, the main event that everyone's been waiting for, the golden ticket. So we are going to do a raffle right now. We have all of your names that has attended in a bucket. We're going to pull a ticket. So we're going to send you a personalized swag bag of SolarEdge goodies, and we want to pull that golden ticket. So Chris, are you going to join me on stage for this?
Oh, I've got a.
The man behind the voice.
I'm afraid not. I've got a face for radio, so I'll be hiding back here behind the
okay.
cameras.
So let's actually get the bowl